Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We're back on the dev server and they've updated it once again. So this video will go through all of the changes that have happened on the dev server, which are to do with new vehicles and old vehicles and all of those wonderful things. So let's get into it. Let's have a look at everything. And as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe and also like the video. Let's get started. The first change is the Ju-188. You may remember that they added the cool new cockpit for this one, and also you can now control the kind of 20mm in the front in the cockpit, which is really cool. They have removed something from it though. They removed its combat flaps. So basically you won't be able to turn as well using the combat flaps because they don't exist. That is very sad. The next change that they've done is the MB-326K. Now, all I can really say is they have completely revamped the flight model of this thing. So it's completely changed compared to what it was previously. And yeah, it's basically a new vehicle. They did also the same thing with the Hawk 200, completely changing its FM to a more unique one. So don't be surprised if you've seen a bunch of footage of the MB-326 and also the Hawk 200 if they act differently when it comes to the game. The other thing is they have actually increased the HP on the fuel tanks, so it's harder to actually take them out, which is kind of nice. But most of all, they've just very much changed how much or how this thing's actually going to fly. The next part is the AH-64Es. So they're adding AH-64Es to a bunch of different tech trees, but these aren't exactly the same as the American AH-64Es. But the Chinese one and the French one, which we saw previously, these two vehicles did have the DIRCM that the American Apache had. Well, now they don't. They just removed it, and therefore it's done. The Tornado IDS SLE, the ASTA-3, this one has also got a few changes. They changed its MFD, or its multifunction display, in the cockpit, and also they added this, the HOSBO. The HOSBO was the kind of bomb that was in the files, which we had a look at the other day. And what the HOSBO is you can see it right under there, under the fuselage. It is an IR-guided bomb. So it has IR, IOG, GNSS, so that means even if it loses lock, you'll still be able to use it because it will just lock into the last known location. So yeah, these are the stats for it. It has 272 kilos of TNT equivalent, which is pretty good for a 1,000-pounder, and also it's on the same kind of area as you put the Lightning II targeting pod and also the standard kind of guided bombs. So the question is, do you take these or do you take some brimstones? Who knows at the end of the day? I'm sure they'll have some conflicts if you try and take both, unfortunately. Another vehicle that's got a change to it is the F-15C. They've made it basically a little bit easier to grind, which is quite nice of them. Basically, they had the JDAM modification, right? And what they've done is they've given people access to most of stock, so therefore it's a little bit easier to use. So these standard JDAMs should be available right away instead of having to kind of grind them out, and I think that's pretty nice. Just means that you have at least some options as you go forward. The Hawk 200 also got changed. They added some modifications to it, so you know how we talked about the EFS the other day, but then also they have the Sea Eagle. So the Sea Eagle has now been added to the vehicle. This was one of the main selling points of the vehicle, even though I don't think a ton of people use it, but look how big these missiles are compared to everything else. So these missiles are once again IR-IOG missiles. You can see that they go Mach 1.4, and they have nearly 300 kilos of TNT equivalent. Now, these are obviously designed to hit stuff such as naval targets, but technically in real life you could actually use them against ground targets. So it'd be interesting to see if people can actually get these things working and moving around. There was also a few people asking what the cockpit looks like in the Hawk. So here you go. This is what it looks like. It looks really nice. It has its actual display up now, and you have all of the different screens that are there. So yeah, pretty cool in general. I could do a specific video kind of looking at these things. That's up to you guys if you want to see it. But yeah, the general lock of these things does work, but mainly they're designed obviously to go after ships since they're the larger target. And let's see, does that go? It did. So remember, when it comes to these missiles, they're actually sea skimming missiles. So what that means is they should kind of follow they should kind of follow the water once they go down, and this means that they'll be harder to hit and well, like harder to deflect, and also once stuff like ships actually get countermeasures and stuff like that, they probably also at the same time won't be able to kind of stop them coming in. Now you can see, since these missiles are so big, the actual vehicle itself is really tough to control if you only have one on the wing. So just to kind of let you know how that goes. And also, did you see how much damage that missile did? It basically did 91% of the damage because it's got such a big warhead. So hopefully, when it comes to these things, what we'll see kind of going forward is their use not just in kind of a naval capacity, but also in a ground capacity. So you can see them kind of flying in, going to the targets, and then kind of going down and hitting them. You can see here what they look like, and as it goes in, let's see how much damage it does to the Bravey. The Kern died, so that was kind of cool. Kaboom! 6% on that guy, Jesus. And then the Albatross, it nuked it in one hit. So yeah, these things have a lot of explosive filler, and with the SAP the fact that they can penetrate and then explode, that's huge when it comes to a naval setup. So yeah, looks like the Sea Eagles might be quite nice, but we'll see what goes on in terms of the other part of it, because the basic issue is whether you're going to be able to lock tanks with it, or if it's just going to be a naval missile. Talking about some other loadouts, you have the MB-326K. They just added a stock loadout for this thing, so once again, it's a little bit easier to grind. Basically, you have the 250 pounders. They added them in as a stock setup. You can see that both here, so you can just kind of pick which ones you want. Just means it'll be a bit easier to go forward with. They've also buffed the new Su-30MK2. So the missiles that are available on this, you obviously have the R-73s and the R-77s. That's what everybody was focusing on. But also, as a sleeper missile, the semi-active radar homing ones, they've actually buffed them. So they were the R-27R1s. Now they're the R-27ER1s, which I believe are the upgraded versions, which just gives it a bit more power and means that you can bring along a very powerful semi-active radar homing missile. Talking about Russian vehicles and also them adding more and more munitions to them, the Tu-1, which is this vehicle right here, they've actually added new loadouts. They've added the good old AP bombs to it, just like they've added to a lot of the other Tu series and also a lot of other Russian vehicles too. So you have the Brabs, which they've brought in as well. Whether they're going to be useful or not, who knows? They've also changed a few things when it comes to ground vehicles. So this US LVTA-1, they haven't fully modeled it yet, by the way. Like, it's still in a funny state because it has the ridiculous amount of armor on it, but they have modeled the 50 cal. So the 50 cal now works, and also the sight zoom has been changed. So it's a little bit more akin to what the Chaffee is. So it's now 4.35 to 5.02, whereas previously it was 1.88 to 3.53. And they've also given it its smoke grenades. So they're basically just adding it as the Chaffee turret. No changes, which shouldn't be too surprising. They are also changing the Russian BTR-82AT, and also the other change is actually coming in for the BTR-80s. Remember, with the BTR-80, there's one in the Soviet tree, and there's also one in the Italian tree as a Hungarian vehicle. They're also changing the sight zoom on this thing from 3.8 to 4 to 2 to 4. So basically, you'll have a larger view range if you are kind of zoomed out before you zoomed in. Now, the BTR-82AT has gone through a ton of changes, so bear with me when it comes to this vehicle. Number one is the turret rotation speed. So you can see here, the horizontal guidance speed is now 35 degrees. It used to be 30, and the elevation speed used to be 14. It's now 30 degrees per second. So this is more akin to what you would find from a 9.0 vehicle. The vertical limits have also been changed. So basically, the gun depression is not as good as it was, but generally should be completely fine. And then also they've added one more missile to it. So instead of only having 3, it now actually has 4. So you hold 3 in the bottom and then 1 up top. This is actually quite a big change. Also, the mass has gone up. It's now 17.5 instead of 17. And at the same time, they slightly changed its mobility but not enough to really comment on. It's like 1 kilometer an hour here, 1 kilometer an hour there, so it doesn't really matter. The next thing is the T-3485 STP. Basically, they just changed the model of the smoke barrels, so now it actually fits the vehicle instead of what they were using before, which was another model's thing, which wasn't exactly great. And then also, the CM34 got some changes to its armor. Do you remember how like it had the big box in it of that had the big box of the small liner in it? Well, guess what? It now has a turret spore liner too. So basically, the whole vehicle is just covered in a massive spore liner, which obviously will help people quite a lot. Some people are asking about the Oplot camouflages, so I thought I'd show you them. Once again, this vehicle hasn't changed yet, so it's exactly the same as it was before. It has the really nice quadricolor camo, and then also the unicolor winter camouflage too. Another thing to also mention about camos, they're doing the same thing as they usually do when it comes to these things. So they are changing requirements for a lot of camos, making some of them easier, some of them harder. You know how it goes. Basically, they're just moving them around based on, I'm guessing, general statistics. Another change which is coming in, you remember how they massively changed the CA Lorraine and just made it infinitely worse in terms of the vehicle, basically just because of all of the mobility nerfs? Well, they've also changed a few other things. So number one, the frontal armor, instead of being 50 millimeters, is now 60 millimeters. The hull, which is above the tracks, which is around here, has also changed as well. So basically, it's gone from 20 to 15. The commander's cupola has also changed. It's basically now cast homogeneous armor instead of rolled homogeneous armor. And also they changed its center of gravity, since obviously they changed, you know, where its armor is. The vehicle still has all of its mobility nerfs, and that obviously makes it kind of sad. A French vehicle which is looking a lot better than it was, though, is the Jaguar. They've actually now added 4 missiles to it. So instead of it having only 2, it now has 4. You have the 2 in the launchers, and then you have 2 in the booty right back here, which is a really interesting place to put them, absolutely miles away from the launcher, but oh well. So yeah, looks like you're going to get a reload on the Acheron MP80 gem, which is nice, because only having 2 of those things, and then basically becoming like a 10-3, 10-0 vehicle is a bit crazy. So very good that they've changed that. Some people are asking about the round for the EBRC, so that's the round, the APF SDS. I don't think it's changed, so it's basically the same. And the last vehicle for ground, or last change for ground forces, is the good old 60 millimeter. They've changed its name, so it's not the Zelda anymore, it's the Bardelas. And then also they've added this Trunnion again. They've added this to a bunch of different vehicles, and this is a 150 millimeter piece of armor. So it really looks like they're trying to stop vehicles just getting breached over and over again, so people will have to aim, and we'll have to see how that kind of goes. So for naval changes, there's a few as well. PT-262, they added a pump to it, and also they added the new damage control mechanic. So basically you'll actually be able to pump out water now. One of the issues with the new damage mechanic is it's still not available to like click on and show you, which kind of sucks, because I kind of wanted to show you, but what can you do? They've also completely redone the armor on the Koenig. So basically just changing a lot of the little pieces of armor. The main armor is still the same. It's just like the little pieces around here, for example. So don't be surprised if that has changed quite a lot. And then also, at the same time, they've done some small changes to stuff like the Musashi and also the Clemenceau, but nothing too crazy at the end of the day. Air missile changes have also come in, basically for a lot of the rockets or missiles that helicopters use. For example, you have the PARS, the Spike ER, the Triget, and the UMTAS. The baseline surface lock range for these things is now 20 kilometers instead of 10. So that just makes them a lot more effective at being able to get off those fire and forget missiles and going a bit crazy with them. So got to be very, very careful with that setup. There's a few changes when it comes to the economy stuff as well, but that's just following the modifications that they've added, and then also adding a few other things, such as the new vehicles. So don't be too surprised when that moves around. And also, as I said, they've been adding a bunch of different stuff in terms of camouflages and changes, which we will see later on. That's pretty much all the changes. There's nothing really else to talk about apart from some changes to the deep strike missions, but who cares about them? They're pretty crap right now, so until they actually do some proper changes to them, it's not worth really talking about. But as always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.
I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.